Suprabhat, Namaskar. I am here with a person whose name is Narendra Vaishampaya, and he has worked on a very unique concept. He has worked on certain very fundamental basic goals which not only concern India but for the entire world, we can say. He has drafted a very fine blueprint which can be a very important factor while implementing the goals designed and directed by United Nations on sustainable development. The sixth goal is very important, which addresses conservation of water resources as well as good sanitation facilities across the globe. Let's talk to Narendraji himself. Narendraji,
Namaste.
so this was a very unique kind of thing, and it's not only concerned India, but if we look at it, it concerns really the entire globe. So tell us about how that idea germinated in your mind and from where the journey exactly started.
So UN has set up the goal for sustainable development. The sixth important parameter is providing access to sanitation as well as clean water to everybody around the globe. When Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started in 2014, what I observed is the events like Wari, etc. There was no infrastructure provided, and then it was resulting into the open defecation. When Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started in 2014, India was having ease. I mean, there are World Bank indexes which talks about ease of access to toilet, and India was having like only 40% people within India had access to toilets all across the India. And then there were a lot of stories which were initiating, which were talking about though toilets are getting constructed, those are not getting used. We would have seen, somebody is making it as a storeroom, somebody is parking their ships and boats into those toilets. And then what I thought is we need to work on providing sanitation facilities or toilets for large public gatherings, because if larger public is using the toilet facilities, then they will realize the importance, then they will understand how it can be used, and then they will be habitual to use the toilets, and then the overall pattern or usage of those toilets will be kind of changed. And that's how I was thinking what can be done. Coming from urban area, I also used to face problem when I'm going into the remote areas and then when there are no toilets available. When I look back what can be done, then I recollected another event where my auntie has traveled to Pandharpur Yatra, which is one of the prominent yatra in Maharashtra. It's like almost 1 million people walk around from Pune to Pandharpur, taking almost like 21 days and a systematic journey where they are crossing between like 14 or 17 stops across the places, and then they will stay at that particular location for night stay, and next day morning they will start moving to the next journey. When I visited this event earlier, what I had observed is there are no sufficient toilets because so many people are marching towards Pandharpur, and then they are taking halls in schools, colleges, or ST stands or temples around this journey, and then since there are no toilets, they have to defecate in open air, and that was resulting into massive pollution. There had been several cases, especially on Pandharpur, to stop this Wari procession because of this open defecation challenges. And when this 2014, when this Abhiyan was launched, I thought of preparing a blueprint, and I prepared that blueprint, analyzing various options which are available in terms of what kind of toilet facilities can be provided. Then I realized providing toilet may not keep it clean. We have to provide a toilet as a service, like the way we do it typically in IT industry, like software as a service and those kind of thing. So I integrated the entire model where it is like not only the toilets are deployed, but water is also provided. There are sufficient lighting, and there is a cleaning service that is provided, and then slurry disposal is also done in a scientific way. And then I thought of using this toilet as a service as one of the key component to keep it clean. Then uh, after creating that blueprint, that time, since there were environmental issues, I wrote a simple email to Prakash Javadekar. He is also from Pune, and means somebody from Maharashtra should know about Wari.
To understand the Wari culture, Wari fabric, and how for centuries it has been integral part of Maharashtra.
Right.
What fascinates me, because this is the public which comes from all across Maharashtra and from all villages possibly, and they can be the best messengers.
Right.
Because government or agencies, they draft the policy with an intention, but they also provide the facilities. But having done that, acceptance by masses is something a very crucial point. And for that you chose Wari is something that fascinates me. So to convince the Warkaris, because see, in your blueprint you might have given a draft to where to place, how to place, how many to place, probably looking at what mobile population at that particular month. But making them aware of using it must have been another task. How did you do that? How did you convince it?
So what we did is, since this blueprint was done, it was kind of well appreciated by everybody. Then what we got to know is there are a lot of other people who are also working around that. So instead of working alone, we started working with Seva Sehog in first place. Then I understood that a lot of people with respect to the Warkaris are trying to do something. Then I got to know RSS people are doing something around it. So we met all the stakeholders, and then we sort of convinced them, because they were also trying to identify this solution. Especially Warkaris were facing challenges because their daughter-in-laws were bit resistance because they have to go in open defecation. So we convinced them by telling them that if your next generation has to come in this Wari procession, then you need to adopt this kind of solution. When it was government officials, we told them that it's Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, that you are facing challenges in terms of adoption of the toilet. So this is the best way to kind of pilot it. Not only pilot it, but provide it for 21 days. And typically in Indian mythology, it said that, if we do it something for 21 days, right, then we become habitual to it. And then with respect to Gaokaris or the villagers, they were facing challenges. The schools used to get closed for 20-25 days after Wari procession, and then that's how we convinced them in terms of that they also should participate. Typically there is a lot of resistance in initial phases, but then we did a pilot in Loni and Yavat in 2015 by deploying this toilet as a service for 200 toilet set. And then everybody was suspicious whether Warkaris will use it, how it will go. And to our surprise, a lot of Warkaris were using it on their own. There were a lot of volunteers who were helping the entire project, standing there overnight and then telling Warkaris, please use the toilets. And that's how basically it started. Almost initially it was a bit challenging to understand whether they will use it or not, how we can do it, how we need to plan for various locations and things like that. But the first experiment in Loni was super successful. The initial resistance of those villagers was kind of completely shifted on a positive note. Next day morning, they came up with breakfast and tea at the same toilet location, and they themselves admitted that we never used to pass by this place for at least 15-20 days post Wari procession is over. Our schools used to be stopped for 15-20 days at least, and today we are having breakfast at this location. So that's the biggest success.
To convince the government machinery to put in money is another thing, because getting sanction for money, because these kind of schemes and ideas can come, but they need to be accepted by the government and the administration. How did you do that? Because that would have been a bigger challenge also.
Yeah. So when we did this pilot in 2015, what happened is in Pandharpur as well, government of Maharashtra, since it had multiple cases on environment, they had to do something and show it to the high courts. So they kind of replicated our model in terms of deploying toilet as a service. And then when they contacted us, and then we thought of doing volunteering engagement over there as well, so as to ensure those toilets are not only deployed but getting used as well. And then the Pandharpur was kind of again super successful. So we captured all the data. We are doing a lot of follow-up. That time, Finance Minister Sudhir Mungantiwar took a lot of effort in terms of organizing the meetings with various stakeholders and then exploring. The main challenge was it was not fitting into one department under government, and that's how it was like everybody was pointing fingers to each other. So we took a lot of efforts in terms of reaching out to the various stakeholders, various leaders. Everybody was admitting that we have to do something, but they were not able to crack the puzzle in terms of how to proceed. Then that time, Chief Minister of Maharashtra approved it as an exceptional project in 2016, and we had already done surveys from Seva Sahayog with myself and Shivaji Rao More, who is ex-president of Dehu Sansthan. So we had done surveys for all 30 Mukkam places where we had to do this kind of initiative. And then we submitted all the data to government machinery. Since CM has approved this as an exceptional project, the entire bureaucracy kind of, marched along with us to kind of provide the toilets. We trained them using all social media concepts. Since I have been managing large projects in IT industry, it was like I knew how to do the trainings, how to kind of scale it up, and then basically how to prepare so many be it training materials or motivate the volunteers. And that's how we proceeded. In 2016, we deployed toilets at all 30 locations, and then there was a huge positive response from everybody. In terms of beat usage, there were almost 10,000 plus volunteers who were helping us that time on ground, who used to stand for their whole night and then tell this worker is like, please use the toilet. And then it was like super successful in 2016. And then rest is like history, because in 2017 I got a call from Finance Ministry, because what they realized is this cannot be fitted into one single department. Wari is passing by three different districts, so it cannot be again under one district. And that's how that time they made provision in state annual budget itself. And then now every year it is getting conducted. It's almost like that way it is ninth year, but due to Corona break, it is 2 years gap. So it's almost seventh year today as we speak. And Warkaris are using it. Now the scope has been enhanced, not only for the two main waris, but it is also extended to another two waris. So we started with Jnaneshwar Maharaj and Tukaram Maharaj Palki Marg. Now it is extended to Sopan Kaka as well as to Nivrutti Nath this year. The number of toilets has also, we started with 200 per Mukkam as a pilot. Now it has gone 1,000 for that particular route of Tukaram Maharaj and 1,500 for Jnaneshwar Maharaj. So it has scaled up with respect to the number, with respect to the coverage. And not only that, the similar model has been adopted at multiple various places like Kumbh Mela, especially in 2019. And I took a lot of effort in terms of chasing it with the government of India, kind of making it a mandate, because in 2014 when this policy was drafted, that time there was no policy on public toilet as well as for public gathering. But now you would see for all large public gathering, there is a policy in place. There is a mandate on using toilets. Still people don't know how to kind of solve this, and they are reaching out to us. We are helping them. We have made a template where they can do the toilet calculations, how they can basically take the services, which all vendors are there. At times we have the government norms with respect to what kind of toilets need to be provided or in what quantity. So we are helping each other to kind of keep it clean and use it.
Nirmal Wari, the concept and the name itself clearly is very, very fascinating and very good, because it conveys it all. If we look at Maharashtra has a phenomenally good tradition of friends and social reformers, because that is how Maharashtra stands out as a state, culturally, socially, differently than if we compare to many other states. So the Saints were always propagating reforms in the society, and this, in a way, through their own wari, this concept going ahead is something very good. Now, is it also that there are Kumbh Melas at various places, there are other yatras in every state, because Maharashtra, India, if we look at it, has a very complex culture and complexity when it comes to festivals, yatras, etc. So how you are connecting the dots and reaching out to the pan-India thing,
So what we did is we reached out to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Mantralaya. We shared our data as well as success stories with them. Since we have been closely working with multiple IAS officers, they kind of propagated it through their own mechanism. One of the IAS officer kind of did this presentation in IAS Training Institute in Mussoorie. So hopefully everybody around India at least would be aware of. And then a lot of pilgrims, when they are visiting different places, I'm sure they would be telling each other in terms of sharing the experiences, like how Pandharpur Yatra has been reformed from various cases to kind of Rangoli onto that Valvant where from it all started. So potentially sharing the best use cases and experiences, one of the best option to propagate this.
And to reach out to the entire India, do you think that too many people should be connecting? There should be a forum, pan-India forum, which can actually take this not only message, but the entire policy and the entire execution.
I think that will be really helpful because means in 2015 when we started this, right, one of the old lady came to see the toilet and she thought it's a bigger machine, and then how she can get into it and what is the purpose, etc. When one of the lady volunteer explained her what this toilet is all about, then she tried it in first time in her life. She might be like 60-70-year-old. So she tried it for the first time. Then when she used it, she felt it like this is very useful. Privacy is maintained. I need not to be worried about any snakes or frogs around it. And then she said to our volunteers that I will go home and deploy this kind of machine at home so that my next generations can use this very safely. So unless and until we make it a habit in terms of for everybody in India that they use it and then they kind of pass on the message, or they experience it themselves and then they pass on the message, I think it will be fairly difficult for people on grassroots to kind of check this out and then use it. So this social gatherings is one of the best opportunity to be tapped, so that the people who are coming maybe from different economical background, they will start using it, experience it themselves, and then they will start using toilets at their homes. So I feel you rightly mentioned that there has to be some pan-India initiative which will kind of help people to use the toilets in first place, especially from the remote areas or below poverty level. They will understand the effect of it and then they will start using it at their own places.
So thank you so much, Narendra, because the message is very big. To implement it was a Herculean task, one can say. But the way you chose the social, cultural, population of Maharashtra, which can take the messages to entire village, because probably there cannot be any other better event than this, that Wari and Yatra could have been chosen for this. And we wish that it reaches pan India with so many yatras, because they get with the good messengers. So thank you so much.
Thank you.